modesty, touch me, modesty, modesty.
Hi there, and welcome to Some Orange Jeed. I'm your host, Bob Larry, and you can call me Bobla. And today on our program, we are talking about modesty. And I have with me today, formerly known as Miss J, as many of us would recognize the name. But actually, Renee now is your name. And Renee has written a book called Renee Rants. So thank you for joining us on the program today, Renee.
Well, thank you very much, Bobla.
Well, appreciate having you here. So my first question for you then is, could you explain to us the current role and mission that you have when it comes to the modesty movement?
Well, I'm for modesty, and as you can see with my new book here, Renee Rants, it is all of my ranting about how things have been in modest, and it's actually since the 1980s, that's when it got really bad. Britney Spears actually played a big, huge role in this, though, and since then, what used to be sort of okay is now just completely downhill, if I could say. You go to the store and you can't even buy normal clothes. You have to buy clothes that will show your butt crack, your belly button, your cleavage, and everything else. It doesn't leave any room for the imagination, and we need to bring it back. Let's bring the imaginations back.
This is true. And you know what I'm sort of picking up on here, the undertones of what you're saying, is that there's a bit of almost a conspiracy theory going on. Have you heard of this?
The conspiracy theory? Well, I have heard of some conspiracy theories, but here's one conspiracy theory.
Okay.
I'm not a man. I've never been a man. I never want to be a man, but I've heard that men always like to complete the picture in their mind. So you know what's worse than showing like your full body?
What?
Parts of your body. So if you have a shirt that has like a big hole here over here, guess what the guy's going to think? He's going to complete the picture and he can see you completely. And it's just because his mind wants to finish the picture. So that's my conspiracy theory.
That's fascinating, actually. Now, I heard you had an interesting experience in your childhood that really spurred you on to get into this modesty push. Could you just share with us that experience?
That experience that stirred me on? Well, let's just say that I went to this one class once and they were talking about, okay, if you're not sure if you're dressing modestly, here's some tips or whatever that can do it. And one of them was called the, grandpa mirror. And it said, if you don't know if your dress is too short or your shorts are too short, sit in front of your mirror and pretend that it's your grandpa looking at you. So I did that with one of my skirts, and I'm like, ah! Because you just realize like how terrible it was. And here's another thing that just drives me nuts, and I think every single girl in North America needs what is called a long undershirt. I don't want to see crack. I don't want to see belly buttons. It's gross. The worst thing to have ever is like, especially if you're bigger, then you have a big belly. But it's terrible. It distracts guys. They're trying to work, and all of a sudden they see this,
It's not nice.
They're not thinking about their work. They're thinking, and do you want to have them thinking about you? No. So no. Do this test. Raise your hands. If your shirt raises up, then that's the wrong shirt. You need to chuck it, or you have to get a long undershirt. Wear shirts that you can tuck in. I don't want to see butt crack. I don't want to see any belly button. It's wrong. I'm ranting. I'm just so annoyed by all this stuff that I'm seeing. It's just disturbing.
Now, we recently had, I saw a program that had a guest on that was a high school cheerleader, and she herself was not really interested in this whole modesty movement. She didn't really see it as an issue. And so, I mean, that was her perspective. And I think we all have different perspectives, and there's so many ways you can go on this spectrum, burqa to naked, and I mean, where do we go? And we went out there to the people, and we want to see what they have to say.
Reason or acceptance of what our culture dictates.
People clothing. Well, about modesty, I think it's about yourself.
I think as people that have a vision and a purpose and have a meaning to our lives, that the issue isn't so much about what we can get away with in modesty. I think the issue is about making everything focus and using everything, including the way we dress, to be able to serve and build up what we're trying to accomplish, what our purpose is.
I think you should know what are you going to do, like about fashion or stuff.
I suppose when it comes to dressing, I think guys probably don't even give a thought to it, and if it comes to dressing, I'm probably modest, I suppose. But when it comes to other things, I'm probably not that modest, in the sense that lots of times I find I do things that kind of freak people out.
You know, interesting comments there. I'm just thinking, like, how does that work with male modesty versus women modesty?
Well, let me tell you this. Any butt crack is the same, and I don't want to see it, guys. Like, we used to call it plumber. Somehow, in the last, like, 5 years, it's become trendy, but it's just gross. So, I mean, just wear a belt, buy a belt. It's pretty cheap, or buy a long undershirt so you can tuck it in.
Well, that is well said. All butt cracks are the same, and I haven't heard that